السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us another opportunity to be together and discuss some important issues around the month of Ramadan. As we know that the month of Ramadan is the month of action. It's a month that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us an opportunity not to be disturbed by the shaitan from the actions that we would like to carry out in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we know that the month of Ramadan is a month in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had increased the reward of all good actions. And for a believer, this is enough motivation to do as much as we can. We need to remember that actions are what will get us into Jannah. Actions are an indication of the presence of Iman in someone. Because Iman is in our hearts, but that Iman is proven by our actions. The month of Ramadan then is enabling us to revive the spirit of action, to revive the a'mal as-salihah, to ensure that we do not forget to do things that please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a month that helps us to be able to reignite our spirits of being Muslims, not just in word but also in deed. The action is so much encouraged in the month of Ramadan that the last 10 days of Ramadan are days that the Prophet ﷺ has shown us by example to increase in action. The Prophet ﷺ in a hadith reported by Aisha radiallahu anha says, she said that the Prophet ﷺ in the last 10 days of Ramadan, he would tie his izar or his trouser, as we say, and he would remove himself from the bed. In other words, this last 10 days of Ramadan is a time when the Prophet ﷺ engaged in a lot of ibadah, more than he did in the first 20 days of Ramadan. And so inshallah ta'ala, this should be our attitude towards the last 10 days. If we did a lot in the first 20 days, the month of Ramadan, inshallah ta'ala, we must give it our best that we can. Because now the month of Ramadan is coming to an end. The month of recharging our Iman, which is a motivator for action, is coming to an end. And so we then need to ensure that we boost that Iman enough that it can survive, inshaAllah ta'ala, for 6 months after the month of Ramadan. We know that, for example, that the last 10 days of Ramadan is also the time for i'tikaf. And i'tikaf is there as a means of ensuring that we multiply our actions, that we place ourselves in a space where all that we care about is ibadah. When someone, for example, is in the masjid from the eve of the 21st until the day of the announcement of Eid, and during the time that someone is in i'tikaf in the masjid, all they are supposed to do is ibadah. So we see how Ramadan is about actions, but the last 10 days is about multiplied actions. Because here we have to remember, we are preparing ourselves to go back into the field of war. We are going back into the zone where shaitan will be loose. We are going back into the zone where he will tempt us to go back to our old ways. And what is the best that we can do to ensure that that does not happen? That is that we armor ourselves with good actions, and the good actions that we multiply in become our armor and become that space that we create between us and the devil when he comes back one more time. And to show that the Ramadan, that the 10 days of Ramadan, the last 10 days, is a time for action, the Prophet ﷺ has told us that in the last 10 days is also Laylatul Qadr. And so the Quran also confirms that Laylatul Qadr is also within Ramadan, and the Prophet ﷺ tells us it is to be found in the odd nights of the last 10 days. And we know that the Prophet ﷺ did not inform us which day it was. And the scholars say that this is to ensure that we multiply our actions in the last odd nights of the last 10 days. And so this ensures that we get ibadah in those nights, but also that we have gotten Laylatul Qadr without a doubt. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq and the ability to be able to maximize in good actions as much as we can during the last 10 days, so that inshallah ta'ala we are prepared and ready for the war that is in front of us, that lies in front of us of shaitan, and that inshallah ta'ala we can continue to be good slaves and servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the longer part of the year. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.